All right, Browns fans, buckle up with me, because what's going on in Cleveland right now isn't just another offseason storyline. This is the kind of drama that could completely rewrite the quarterback landscape, not just for the Browns, but honestly for the entire NFL. I'm not throwing around buzzwords just to get clicks. What we're watching unfold in this quarterback room might be one of the most fascinating and unexpected shakeups we've seen in recent memory. And I've been watching this league for a long time, but what's happening right now in Berea? It's wild, it's raw, and it's completely unfiltered chaos in the best possible way. Let me walk you through it. So I'm watching the Pat McAfee show, right? Like I do pretty much every week. And out comes Peter Schrager, one of the most respected, connected, no-nonsense voices in the NFL media. This isn't some guy trying to make waves when Schrager talks. People listen. I can only describe as an absolute bomb about the Browns quarterback situation. I froze. I rewound it. I listened again. Did he really just say that? Because if what Schrager is suggesting turns out to be true, we could be looking at a total upheaval of the depth chart in Cleveland, a potential roster flip that could send ripple effects across the AFC. Let's rewind for a second and put this all into context. So please take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Last season, the Browns went through an absolutely insane quarterback carousel. Deshaun Watson goes down early with injury, and all hell breaks loose. PJ Walker steps in and tries to hold the line. Then Dorian Thompson-Robinson gets a shot, and for a while it feels like the season's slipping through our fingers. But then, like something out of a movie, Joe Flacco strolls into the locker room. This veteran, who's been floating in the NFL shadows for years, and completely recalibrates the whole team. The guy hadn't played meaningful football in forever, but he comes in, stabilizes the offense, leads a postseason push in Browns history books. So what do the Browns do? They bring him back this offseason. Totally makes sense. Flacco is experienced. He's calm under pressure. Cleveland drops another surprise move and trades for Kenny Pickett, and that one raised eyebrows. I mean, Pickett's only a couple years removed from being a first-round pick in Pittsburgh. Sure, he didn't exactly set the AFC North on fire, but the dude has real starting experience. That's not someone you bring in just to hold a clipboard now. Suddenly, you're staring at a quarterback room that includes Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, and Kenny Pickett. All three have started games. All three have led offenses. That's already a crowded, competitive room. But Cleveland wasn't done yet, because here's where things really get interesting. They go out and draft Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round. Yep, Shedeur Sanders, the son of Deion Primetime Sanders, the guy who lit up college football last year and turned Colorado into must-see TV. Everyone expected this kid to go on, day 1 or day 2 of the draft, but somehow he slips all the way to round 5, and when he did, Cleveland pounced. Now let me just pause right there. The Browns were not supposed to be drafting a quarterback. That was never part of the plan. GM Andrew Berry even said as much, publicly. But when Shedeur fell that far, they couldn't pass him up, because no matter what the media was saying about his maturity, or his interviews, or the DON effect, the talent was undeniable. And now, here we are, with 4 quarterbacks in the room for very different styles, for different stories, and every single one of them has something to prove. Shedeur Sanders, despite the hype and the fan excitement, hasn't taken a single rep with the first-team offense yet, with the second unit getting his feet under him, learning the system, and tightening up his mechanics. But let me tell you, everything coming out of minicamp right now says this kid is making noise. Coaches are praising his poise, and the numbers don't lie. Over 5 open sessions, he's thrown 41 completions on 51 attempts, with 9 touchdowns and only 1 interception. That's a 77% completion rate, folks. That's not just promising rookie territory. That's elite execution. So now the question is, what do the Browns do? You've got Watson, who's supposed to be the franchise guy. You've got who just saved your season. You've got Pickett, who was a former first-round pick, and now you've got this electric, young, hungry rookie putting on a clinic in camp. Do you ride the experience? Do you give Shedeur a real shot to start week 1? Or do you stash him on the bench and slow roll his development? Coach Stefanski has been playing it safe with his comments. He keeps saying everyone's getting a fair shot. But let's be honest, This is the NFL. Teams don't have time for development years anymore. You win now, or you get left behind. And the craziest part, Shedeur straight up said he doesn't think both Pickett and Flacco will be on the roster when Week 1 rolls around. Let that sink in. That's how real the buzz is around Shedeur right now. And yeah, I know helmets and shorts, no pads. It's just OTAs. That's not just smoke. Even a Jayhawk mentioned the possibility of Cleveland keeping 4 quarterbacks going into the season. That almost never happens. Most teams barely carry 3. But Shedeur shot that down. He said if anything, it's going to be Watson, Shedeur, and Gabriel, with one vet hitting the exit. And if I had to guess right now, it might be Kenny Pickett. Now let's talk real quick about why Shedeur dropped in the draft, because this matters. It wasn't his arm talent. Everyone knows he can sling it. Some teams didn't like the idea of dealing with Dion. They didn't want the cameras, the media circus, the spotlight. Others didn't like how Shedeur came off in interviews. Some reports said he coasted, didn't seem fully engaged. Maybe he didn't want to end up buried on a depth chart behind a washed-up vet in a system that wouldn't develop him. Cleveland didn't care. They saw something. They bet on the upside. And now, everyone inside that building from the front office to the locker room is saying the same thing. This kid might be the real deal. Not just the name, not just the story, but the full package. The talent, the leadership, the fire. Yeah, he's had some hiccups. The speeding tickets, not a great look, but as former Browns coach Eric Mangini said, this is his first time out from under his dad's shadow. He's learning, he's growing. Handle a few growing pains from a 22-year-old kid with sky-high upside. So what do the Browns do this offseason? They bring Flacco back? Of course they do. It's the smart move. You get veteran stability, a mentor in the room, a guy who's been there. But then they shock everyone and go out and trade for Kenny Pickett, a former first-rounder from Pittsburgh. Still young, still raw, still full of potential, but he had a rocky ride with the Steelers. But the talent's there. And now, suddenly, Cleveland's quarterback room is looking loaded at this point. You've got Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, and Kenny Pickett. 3 guys with real NFL starting experience. You're thinking, all right, that's got to be enough. Right, wrong. Because then comes the draft, and this is where things go from interesting to absolutely insane. So please take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. First, they grabbed Dillon Gabriel, a true wild card, a guy with a strong arm, some big play juice, and enough mobility to make you curious. You think, okay, that's a nice developmental pick, but then, the moment I still can't believe happened, they take Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round. Yeah, you heard me, primetime son. The kid who lit up college football last season and basically turned Colorado into a reality show overnight. The guy who was supposed to go in, day 2, easy, somehow. He's sitting there in the 5th round in Cleveland. They pounce, no hesitation, no overthinking, just instinct. Now, I remember watching it happen and thinking, this could either be a stroke of genius or an absolute mess. Because Shedeur isn't just any prospect. He brings headlines, expectations, the spotlight, and let's be real, the baggage. Not because of anything he did wrong, but because of who his dad is, because of the spotlight that follows the Sanders name, because of how the media eats it up. And now here's where it gets wild. Peter Schrager is saying that Sanders is already turning heads in Cleveland, not just quietly impressing in drills, not just holding his own. We're talking shaking the entire depth chart. He said he'd be surprised if both Flacco and Pickett are still on the roster by week 1. And I sat there like, what? One of those guys just won comeback player of the year? The other is a former first-rounder who the team just traded for. And we're seriously talking about the possibility that either one could be gone before the season starts, all because of a rookie 5th-round pick. That's insane. But also, kind of makes sense. I know people are going to say it's just OTAs, that it's early, that we shouldn't read too much into it. But you know what? Kevin Stefanski, who is not a guy known for hyperbole, has already gone on record praising Shedeur's upside. And when a guy like Stefanski breaks character to hype up a rookie, that's a big deal. Even A.J. Hawk was floating the idea of keeping 4 quarterbacks. That's how serious this is. But Schrager shut that down quick. He said the Browns are most likely going to keep 1 veteran, plus Gabriel and Sanders. That means someone's getting cut or traded. And if I'm putting money on it, I think Pickett's the odd man out. So why did Shedeur slide in the draft? Honestly, it wasn't just about his game. Reports said teams didn't love his combine interviews. Some thought he was aloof. Others said he was trying to control the draft process. And let's not ignore the elephant in the room. Teams were worried about the primetime effect, about Deion's larger-than-life presence overshadowing a franchise.